Dearest Fran, I love you so much and I've admired you all these years. You're such a champion of all composers. You've helped young composers with their work. You've advised me. You've changed our lives. And your love for the young and the middle and me, the old composer, really counts, and we all feel it tremendously. Thank you for everything you've done.
Dear Fran, your support of composers over decades is legendary. Less known, perhaps, is how you've nurtured ASCAP's publisher members, especially when we were relatively early in our careers. Your symphonic and concert committee offered regular opportunities for information sharing, collaboration, and especially mentorship from the likes of Morton Gould, John Corigliano, Arnold Broido, and yourself. Fran, by your example, you taught us dedication to contemporary music creators, reminding us regularly of your visionary Meet the Composer partner, John Duffy. We learned also through your absolute honesty, caustic wit, and deep affection for the people in your wide orbit. Which is not to say that you didn't give us publishers a very hard time when we didn't rise to the occasion, though I often wondered why you let me off the hook more than many of my peers. Among the many things for which I am grateful, let me highlight an ASCAP reception you hosted in early 2002 when you invited a young composer performer to perform. I was so taken with the distinctive life force and optimism in Gabrielle Elena Frank's music that I immediately decided she had to become a Schirmer composer. Convincing her took a little more time. Gabby likes to say that I changed her life, but she's enriched me at least as much. We both have you to thank, dear Fran, the mother of us all.
So I'm absolutely delighted to say some words here in honor of Fran Richard, one of the great heroes of American music. I have 2 points. One of them is institutional and one of them is personal. The institutional point is kind of obvious. Without Fran, we would not be here. There would have been no Meet the Composer. There would be no Meet New Music USA. It was really Fran's vision, determination, grit, along with John Duffy together. They created something really special out of pretty much nothing at a really important moment in musical history. So that's the institutional one. The personal one goes back to a day in September 2008. And I was sitting in my office as president of Meet the Composer. Lehman Brothers had failed a few weeks before, and our small but precious endowment had really lost a lot of value, hundreds of thousands of dollars. And on this particular day, the market was in complete free fall, and my staff colleagues were calling into me sort of almost by the hour, it's down this much, it's down this much. And it was just, as that was happening, I was thinking, how are we going to be able to meet the needs of so many artists who are going to need our help? And are we in fact ourselves going to survive? So as I was thinking these things, the phone rang. It was Fran. I'm not even sure if she said hello, but I'll never forget what she said after that. She said, "Kiddo, you should be scared shitless right now. But if you find a way to survive this, you'll never be afraid again." And then she told me the stories really, of John Duffy and her managing Meet the Composer at a really difficult moment, New York City going bankrupt, et cetera, in the 70s. And her point was that, their unwillingness to be stopped by fear allowed them actually to grow and move ahead at that very difficult moment. So after that call, I felt weirdly empowered and basically indestructible. And we did find a way to survive, and we did find ways to help thousands of artists then and since. And so all I can say is, thanks, Fran. You're the best.
Hey, Fran, it's Alex, and I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you. You are the bee's knees. I don't know where bees have their knees, but you are that, because you are an amazing inspiration, like everybody in this tribute video, I'm sure, is saying the same thing. You speak your mind, whether people want to hear it or not, and that's how you make change. You've done so much for so many people, myself included, with your encouragement and your forthright nature. And I can't tell you how valuable you have been to me and to so many people as the ultimate role model. Thanks, Fran.
Hi, Fran. It's your old friend, Steve Reich. Sending memories and greetings. Memories of when we worked together, you and I, at Meet the Composer, and you knew just how to get John Duffy to do the exact right thing, which he always did. It was a pleasure working with you then, and it's great to send you greetings right now. On behalf of lots and lots and lots of composers, thank you, Fran.
Fran, you are the definition of advocate. Thousands of composers have benefited from your tireless efforts, your mentorship, your belief in them, your love, your absolute passion to do what is right. But also, and I can personally speak to this, you've supported and nurtured dozens of arts workers, guiding us, cheering us on when we succeed, and extending your hand to help when we haven't. In the 35 years I've known you, you've always been there for me, and I really can't say anything more except thank you.
Hey, Fran, it's your old friend, John Luther Adams. And I just want to voice my deep respect, my affection, and my heartfelt gratitude to you for the decisive difference that you made in my life and work. Composers are all too accustomed to being patronized, or maybe as we get older to being treated with fatuous deference. But you have always treated composers with respect. Simple, sincere respect informed by your own devotion to the mystery of music, this miracle to which we've dedicated our lives. You and your fellow visionary John Duffy made it possible for me to make a life as an independent composer, just as you have for so many others. Quite simply, you have changed the musical culture of this country. Thanks to you, much wonderful music has come into the world, and your legacy will continue to resound for generations to come. Thank you, Fran.
Hi, Fran. Deepest thanks for your support over the years. It's meant so much to me to be part of the ASCAP family, and you made me feel that way right from the beginning. And you've done amazing, radiant work for music all over the world. I'm so grateful. Sending you lots of love.
Hello, dear Fran. This is Derek Bermel. And we met when I had just come back from studying in Jerusalem. I was 23. And I got to the ASCAP office and I was hungry, and you took me out to lunch. You said you love to take out a starving composer. So you did, and we talked, and you encouraged me to follow my dreams. You were one of the first people who really believed in me. And I'll always remember that. But you also made sure that I understood how important it was to support the work of my colleagues. And that it was creativity in our field that was both dangerous and an endangered species. So I tried to follow both those paths, and I want to thank you for laying that out so clearly to me. And I'm sure that there's, hundreds of other people that can tell the same story, because you're so loved in our field, and there's so many people who are so grateful to you, and I'm one of them. So I'm just happy to have the chance to tell you how much I love you, and to wish you all the best in this new year. And thank you to New Music USA for giving me this opportunity to do so.
What a great way to start the new year, celebrating Fran. I'm nostalgic for the 1980s, the ASCAP office at 1 Lincoln Plaza, where you introduced me to so many people. Every composer and publisher, industry leader and newcomer that walked in your door or called on the phone. You often introduced me to them or let me listen on the phone, and it was really like a history lesson. You taught me so much. The stories were incredible, the great advice, the words of wisdom, and I appreciate that so much. I hung on to every word. It was fascinating. We shared so many laughs and a few tears too. And I love you and I thank you for your generosity.
Such a wonderful opportunity, Fran, to greet you and to wish you all the very, very best. So much love. It was such a wild ride, riding shotgun, so many opportunities to learn and to see so many fascinating, interesting people. I'll always be indebted, and wishing you all from the bottom of my heart all the very best.
Fran, you are a most beautiful, radiant, kind, generous, engaging, fun, brilliant, huge-hearted, visionary, luminous person in the lives of all of us. I know that I would not be the composer I am today without you. You've given selflessly to so many people, artists of all kinds, music supporters of all kinds, for your entire life. And the entire profession is so fortunate for all that you've given it, because you've made everything better. Just by everything you do, everything became better. And I love you, and I'm very grateful to you. Thank you.
My dear Fran, you know, one doesn't usually think of having fond memories of board meetings and committee meetings, but what I miss from those dozens of meetings that we shared for the American Music Center is you. I learned so much from you, and you were an anchor for me during my term as president. You were always the voice of generosity, of conscience, of humor, of institutional memory, of fidelity to mission, and most importantly, of centering the composer and the artist. Thank you for being such a gem, so wise, so fun, and for your tireless and magnanimous advocacy for composers and new music. We love you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Joan Tower. I am so honored to say something about Fran Richards, who was such a formidable woman, amazing citizen of the new music community, and knew everybody and helped as many people as she could over such a period of time. And she was a no-nonsense lady, a really honest, straightforward, principled woman. In fact, I dedicated my third fanfare to her, and she was my guest at Carnegie Hall for that. So, sending much love, Fran, to you, and I hope you're doing well.
Hi, David Lang here. I'm very, very happy to be able to say a few words about my friend, Fran Richard. Fran Richard is my friend. She's not just my friend. She's actually every composer's friend. She's somebody who has dedicated her life to the idea that composers have value and need support. And they need friendship. Fran and John Duffy practically invented the idea that composers should be paid. Radical. She did it. Fran is one of the most committed, passionate, visionary, powerful people I know. I would say one of the most political people. I've always enjoyed having long political conversations with her, which are really exciting and peppered with a lot of swearing, and which I really appreciate. But I also want to come back to this idea of being the composer's friend. Fran and ASCAP gave Bang on a Can the very first grant that we ever got. So before we were doing anything that was worth supporting, we had her support. And without that, I don't think we could have done it. Fran, we love you very much. I love you very much. And I actually think every composer loves you very much. Be well. And again, thank you for everything.
I suspect Fran is part of so many people's origin stories, and that's certainly been the case for us. I'm Jenny Billfield, an arts executive in Washington, D.C.
And I'm Joel Friedman, composer and music professor. And we have a few stories to share.
Now, People know Fran from her time at Meet the Composer, which is when I met Fran and John Duffy. It was the 1980s, and I was a young composer at the tender age of 15.
And of course, from her time at the helm of ASCAP, which is where I met her, a composer who had just won the ASCAP Morton Gould Award and was seeking your advice and support, often over drinks at the Ginger Man Cafe across from Lincoln Center.
Oh yes, we know it well. But little do people know, Fran Richard has been not only one of the most important and impactful champions of music creators in our field, and even more than a midwife in the careers of composers her entire life, she holds another title, director of a shadow enterprise that we like to call Mate the Composer. Mate the Composer.
So here's the short version of our origin story. Jenny started the New Music Orchestral Project with the National Orchestral Association, designed to rehearse, copy, record, and give world premieres by living American composers. I was living then, and I applied to the first national competition and was a finalist.
So, running a training orchestra and national competition was a lot of work, as I discovered. And the next year, a few months before we had our second competition and round of performances, I created a second staff position and reached out to Fran to see if there was anyone she could recommend. She recommended Joel, and Joel applied, and in fact, I offered him the job. He was very well qualified.
But if I took the job, I wouldn't be able to submit my composition to their competition. It would have been a conflict of interest. I'd been so close the first time, I couldn't pass up the chance to apply again. So I turned down the job and sent in my score, concerto in the form of variations for viola and orchestra, with the other 400 plus applicants.
Yes, it was still the longest title in the history of the competition, but I digress. This time, our juries reviewed the anonymized scores, and Joel's concerto was among the winners. Our music director, George Mester, programmed the concerto for our Carnegie Hall performance in January of 1990, with Paul Neubauer making his Carnegie Hall debut as the viola soloist. The piece received a dozen stellar reviews, and so much as we did with the other composers in our program, we started working with Joel to promote his piece.
We became friends. I hoped for more.
And I always said that I would never marry or date a composer, so I was literally clueless about Joel's wider interests.
Her whole staff knew. But she came around.
I came around. And so this is how we became one of Fran's many success stories in her career, nurturing our field and its members in varying and sundry ways.
So thank you, Fran.
And 34 years later, we are in your debt and you are in our hearts. Warmest wishes to you, our friend, our queen, and our Yenta. We love you, Fran.
We love you, Fran.
Franny, I miss you. And I am so happy that I have this opportunity to support the fact that you're being honored. It's an honor that you have actually in the hearts of all of us. You have contributed to our lives. You have supported us. You have been with us at good times and not so good times. And the thing is that I just want to make sure that you know that I am part of this community that loves you, that actually honor you, not because you're being honored, but we all honor you individually, and that you know how much I love you. And I still remember that paper that you made me sign when I was starting to teach. Remember? Okay. So I look forward to seeing you soon and giving you a big hug and sit down and have a cafecito with you. All right? So lots of love and be well.
Hi, Fran. I just want to tell you how grateful I am to everything you have done for me and for everybody else in our music community all of these years. I still remember first meeting you nearly 30 years ago at a radio conference in Nashville and not really having any idea about what this larger music community was all about and thinking I knew everything about music then. I knew so little. And you've guided me all of these years as you've guided everybody else. And I'm just so incredibly grateful to have you in my life.
Hi, Fran. So I remember the very first time that I met you. I was just out of my undergrad at Juilliard. I just graduated a month ago, and Nora Crow Rosenbaum had asked me if I would take over the AV for the ASCAP Concert Music Awards. This must have been in 2005. And I remember walking into your office for the first time, and before I even had met you, I heard the sound of your voice yelling something, and then at the moment where I turned the corner into your doorway, I saw you fling a stack of papers at something or someone. And I just remember thinking like, oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into? Like, I was really petrified. But what was amazing was that just over the course of those few weeks that we did that first project together, I remember feeling such a sense of, love and protectiveness from you, and also feeling that I was part of something that was really important in our field. And, obviously still to this day is very important in our field. And so I worked on the CMAs for probably like 5 years, from 2005 to 2009. And over the course of that time, I really felt like I learned so much. I mean, one of the things that was incredible is that I listened to the music of every single winner. So, and I to cut their audio. And these days I find still composers who are just generally in my age bracket, I will usually have heard their work because of the time that I spent listening to it during that time. And the other thing was that I saw how fiercely you advocated for people. And I saw that really early in my career, that there would be people who needed certain things and very practical things to make the art happen. And you would always be there on the back end, like picking up the phone and making calls and, cracking skulls and getting things done. And I felt like that really showed me what was possible as far as, advocacy and what we need to do for one another in this field. You really set that example for me. I will also say that one of the most beautiful memories I have of you, something that really was very seminal to me, is I think it was after maybe the 2006 Concert Music Awards, one of those years, where you sat me down after the awards and you were like, Rena, you've done such a good job for us. What can we do for you? And I remember that was a point where I was really questioning what I was going to do with my life. And I said to you, I just need a teacher. I need someone who I feel understands me, and I just don't know where to go about finding that, and I really have never had that before. And so you said, look, Susan Body has just moved back to New York. She's just started teaching at MSM. She might have place on her schedule. Why don't I connect you to her? And why don't you see if that's a good fit? And the thing is, you were right that was a really good fit. And I went to Susan, it makes me tear up to say this. I went to Susan totally broken. And everything that's good that's come from my life since that point has been because of that decision. I'm really grateful for you, Fran. I'm so grateful for everything that you've done for me and for so many composers. And God, congratulations on such an incredible career. I'm so proud to know you.
Hi, Fran. It's Paul Williams, and I've come by to sing your praises. My iPhone has never been used for a more noble task than singing your praises. Fran, for nearly 30 years, you've served the ASCAP concert and jazz community with distinction and flair, with a combination of warmth and compassion and tough love. You've been a strong advocate for music creators since day one. Your ear for talent and your vision for what is possible is legendary. You've mentored countless composers as they've risen to the highest level of their craft. In the concert world, there are few more beloved and respected than you are, Fran. It's a great honor to thank you for your years of service and being a champion for ASCAP members across many generations. We are eternally grateful. We love you. We wish you the very best, safe travels, and come back often.
Fran, it has been one of the great privileges of my life to have been able to call you a mentor. You are the most inspiring, generous, hilarious, formidable, and absolutely beautiful people I have ever known, and I feel so grateful to have had the opportunity to work with you for so many decades, both at Meet the Composer and then at ASCAP. I'm always amazed by your ear for talent and the way that you've supported, encouraged, and helped so many amazing composers throughout their careers. I've seen it for decades. It's inspired me, and a day doesn't go by when I don't think about how you have made such an important impact in music and in great music and supporting great composers. Thank you, Fran, from the bottom of my heart. I love you.
Dear Fran, I don't have a particular incident to report about. What I do have is my memory that in all my time at the American Music Center, if I ever had a problem or an issue that I didn't understand, I could always turn to you for advice, for the solution very likely. Anyway, it was always such a comfort knowing you were there and you were available and you had so much knowledge and goodwill to offer. I really can't thank you enough for everything that you did for me and for all kinds of American composers. Thank you, Fran.
Hi, Fran. This is Gabriela Lena Frank calling in from California, and I'm so honored and happy to be part of this well-deserved tribute to your lifelong service to composers in the United States, and I am one of those composers, as you and I know. We met in 1991 when I was a sophomore at Rice University, and you had come down from New York to talk to a bunch of us undergrads that didn't know anything about our rights as composers. And it was mind-blowing for me to see somebody so passionately in our corner, even from such a young point in our formative life. And we stayed in contact for about 10 years after that, the old-fashioned way, through letters and the occasional missive that would come out from me in Houston when I was at Rice, and then in Michigan, and then from South America when I began traveling around there as a grad student at Michigan, trying to find my voice and my reason for being a composer. And when I was 29 and a half, and I was almost too old to participate in the ASCAP Young Composers Competition, you told me that you were going to break my arm if I didn't do the competition before I turned 30, so I did, because you had a plan, and I was one of the many winners. It's a very generous competition, and you got the money to get me out to the award ceremony. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I met a young Rina Esmail, somebody else that you had also influenced, and it was at that award ceremony and the reception afterwards, you asked me to play the piano, and you surprised me. You told the whole room to quiet down, that Gabby was going to play something. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to play? And the only thing on my fingers was this last somewhat virtuoso movement of a sonata andina, Andean sonata based off of proving form that I just written. So I sat down, I gave it my best shot. I remember shrinking the octaves because I couldn't really get all the leaps. It's this roller coaster of a kind of a piece. And who was there but the then vice president of G. Schirmer, Susan Fader, and she came up, and that began a relationship with G. Schirmer. They signed me on because of this meeting that you had brokered, and it completely changed my life. This was the early 2000s, and as a woman of color, coming through a certain kind of era in which I was very much an out-of-the-box candidate for a major career afterwards, this was the kind of thing that was needed for somebody like me, and you facilitated that. And I hope that I've been able to honor you with each piece that I've written. I think about you all the time. The advice that I give to my young composers, you said first to me. And I just think the world of you, and you've been my hero for decades. Thank you, Fran. I love you.
Hola, Fran,
hey,
from
Fran,
Bogota.
We love Fran.
Fran
We love you so much.
amazing. She's been with us from the start.
Absolutely. Fran.
We adore her. We adore Fran.
We love you.
Hi, Fran. It's Jennifer Higdon. And I was trying to think of all the incredible things you've done for me. What was the thing that stood out the most? And I think the reality is the commission you gave me with the Organ Symphony for Shine was the one thing that you did that opened up my entire life to orchestral writing, and basically opened up my life as a composer, because that one commission led to the Philadelphia Orchestra commissioning me. But looking back, I'm also blown away by just how much you've done for so many people. You've been such an advocate, and a strong advocate at that, and really a warrior for composers everywhere. The whole field has benefited. So I think we are all tremendously indebted to you. And know that I adore you, and I will forever have gratitude for your gift to us in this world of music. Thank you, Fran.
I've known Fran Richard for a very long time. In fact, I can't even remember when I didn't know her. She has been such a good friend, an advisor, and she's helped me with my career. I miss visiting her office and occasionally having lunch with her. But Fran, I would like to take this opportunity to salute you.
Happy New Year, Fran, our dear mentor and friend. Chen Yi and Zhou Long are here sending our warmest greetings to you. It's my great honor to celebrate you for your long-time mentorship and friendship, your enthusiasm to new music, and your great support to me, to Zhou Long, and to many other composers in our entire composition careers. You have walked us into the professional composition scene at ASCAP since we first came to the States in the mid-80s, like many other new immigrant composers from around the world, as well as numerous young composers in the States. You have guided me through in my service on the advisory boards of Meet Composer, the American Music Center, and the New Music USA for 17 years in the 90s through the 21st century to support the living composers and their music in our society. You are still encouraging us to make contribution to our new culture after you retire from ASCAP. Your tremendous contribution to Americans' new music field and the culture of our world is unmistakable. Your legacy is warmly celebrated, and your friendship is deeply treasured by us and every creative artist today. Wish you happy and well. We look forward to getting together with you in the new year.
Warmest birthday greetings to the true mother of us all. In the 45 years I've been working in the contemporary concert music field, I've never met anybody who had a deeper knowledge, a greater passion, a stronger voice, or a warmer heart than you, dear Fran. The world of American music would not be remotely the same had you not devoted your talents, your energy, and your incredible powers of persuasion to the music and the people who create and perform it. That world is a very much better place for what you have done, and I am sure that I am not the only one who wants you to know that your efforts are very much appreciated. A very happy birthday, Fran, and lots of love.